I have a secret. The whole palace thinks I am an idiot. But I am actually just pretending. The truly clueless one is my emperor father, who sighs every day while looking at my dazed expression. When will my 9th princess learn to call out Father Emperor? Until that day, I saw a small head pop up over the dilapidated wall of the cold palace, which turned out to be my twin sister whom I'd never met. That very night, I searched every corner of the imperial garden and smuggled her, all filthy, back to my bedchamber. Later, I rushed into the main hall holding my younger sister, and said with a trembling voice, "Father Emperor, imperial sister, hold her for a moment. Don't tell Mother Empress." My father on the dragon throne was stunned, and then his eyes reddened. Twin sisters, that child from back then is actually still alive. My name is Shenru Tao, and I transmigrated into the 7-year-old 9th princess of the Great Zhou dynasty. Normally, this status was noble enough, the emperor's 9th child. The only little princess I should have been showered with endless love. But instead, I was a simpleton. The whole palace knows. The 9th princess got a bad illness when she was 3. A high fever that wouldn't go down, and it fried her brain. Now, at 7, she can only blow bubbles and drool, and can't even speak a complete sentence. The imperial physicians shake their heads, the palace attendants sigh in private. Even Father Emperor, after court is dismissed each day, comes to my chambers to sit for a while, stroking the top of my head and whispering, "My Ru Tao, when will you be able to call me Father Emperor?" At times like this, I would cooperatively let out a couple of sounds, and while I was at it, blow my spit bubbles even rounder. I had no choice. I had to put on an act, because on the first day I crossed over, a book had appeared in my mind, Secret History of the Great Zhou. It was written clearly in the book. The 9th princess Shenru Tao became gravely ill at 3, which damaged her mind, and in the cold winter of her 7th year she fell into the water and died. The emperor was overcome with grief, and 3 months later, a child who looked exactly like the 9th princess suddenly appeared in the cold palace, said to be her twin sister who had been switched back then. That kid was the real fool, used as a pawn by the person behind the scenes to fight for the throne. In the end, the emperor saw through the conspiracy, but that kid couldn't be saved. From then on, the emperor's personality changed drastically. Civil unrest broke out all over Great Zhou, and it fell 10 years later. I gasped after reading, so it turns out I've transmigrated into the background of a political intrigue novel, and as a piece of cannon fodder who dies early at that. That won't do. I have to save my life. Pretending to be a fool is the best strategy. A dim-witted princess is no threat to anyone. Safe. This pretense went on for 4 years. During these 4 years, my daily routine was just eating, drinking, sleeping, and blowing bubbles. And occasionally, when Father Emperor came, I'd perform a stifled expression of wanting to speak but being unable to. The effect was remarkable. Father Emperor was so moved by me. Rewards were sent to my palace like a flowing stream. Mother Empress washed her face with tears every day, feeling she had wronged me. Even those 6 imperial older brothers of mine, who usually fought relentlessly, would call a temporary truce when they saw me, and took turns bringing me candied haws. "Ru Tao, Big Brother brought you your favorite treat." His Highness the Crown Prince crouched in front of me, his eyes as gentle as if looking at a poor little kitten. I stared at the candied haws, my gaze fixed, and then with an ah sound, I snatched it and stuffed it into my mouth, smearing sugar crumbs all over my face. The Crown Prince took out a handkerchief to wipe my face, and sighed. "Eat slower. No one's going to fight you for it." The second prince sneered from the side. "Big Brother really knows how to win people over, not even sparing a fool." "What did you say?" The Crown Prince stood up, his eyes sharp and fierce. Seeing that they were about to argue again, I timely let out a PFFT sound and blew a huge bubble. The bubble was iridescent in the sunlight and popped with a splat, splashing saliva all over the second prince's face. The second prince's face turned ashen, but facing my innocent face, he couldn't even get angry and could only flick his sleeves and leave. The Crown Prince laughed and patted my head. "Ru Tao is still the most capable." I continued to gnaw on the candied haws, rolling my eyes inwardly. "You guys go ahead and fight. Just don't drag me into it. The days just passed by in a daze. Until that afternoon. Number Chapter 2. The secret on top of the wall that was an ordinary afternoon. As usual, I was squatting by the pond in the Imperial Garden, watching the koi blow bubbles. My handmaiden Chunxing was dozing off beside me, her head bobbing up and down. Just as I was about to blow another bubble to match the atmosphere, the corner of my eye caught a glimpse of a small head popping up from the top of the wall of the distant cold palace. That place. The cold palace had been deserted for many years. It was said to be haunted, and usually, no one dared to go near. I squinted. That little head swayed as it peeked out from the top of the wall, then pulled back, and peeked out again. Its movements clumsy, like a baby turtle just learning to stick its head out. The sunlight shone on that little face, and the fish food in my hand scattered all over the ground. That face was exactly the same as the one I saw in the bronze mirror every day. Round eyes, a small nose, her mouth slightly open. Even the position of the light brown mole on her left cheek was exactly the same. Twin sister. The truly foolish sister from the book, the one who was treated as a pawn. My mind went buzz. According to the original plot, my sister was supposed to appear 3 months after I accidentally drowned and died. So how come she is here early now? Could it be because I didn't die? The plot has changed. The little head on the wall was still swaying, seemingly trying to climb up. But she lacked the strength, slipping down after several tries. In the end, only 2 small hands were left clinging to the top of the wall. Her fingers fair and delicate, but covered in dust. I stood up, wanted to walk over, but stopped again. I am a foolish child now. I can't act too clever. So I did what a 7-year-old simple-minded princess should do. Shook Chunxing awake, pointed at the top of the wall, and went, Ah. Chunxing groggily opened her eyes, looked in the direction I was pointing, and shivered in fright. What is that? The little head on top of the wall heard the sound and quickly pulled back. Could it be a ghost? Chunxing's voice trembled. Princess, let's go back quickly. The cold palace area isn't clean. I didn't care, continued to. And even walked in that direction. Chunxing hurriedly pulled me back. Princess, you can't go. That place is bad luck. I shook her off, plopped down on the ground, and started to wail, the kind with lots of noise but no tears. Chunxing panicked. Princess, don't cry. This servant will take you there. Won't that do? She picked me up and walked towards the cold palace, trembling. The further we walked, the more desolate it became, with weeds almost as tall as a person. A corner of the cold palace's surrounding wall had collapsed. Just enough to squeeze through. Chunxing put me down, not daring to go in herself. Princess, let's just look from here, and go back right after we're done looking. I ignored her and squeezed through the hole in the wall. Inside was even more dilapidated than outside. There was a dry well in the center of the courtyard, and by the well sat a little girl, the very one I had just seen on the wall. She was wearing worn-out gray clothes. Her hair was messy, her small face was dirty, but her eyes were as clear as a mountain spring. She saw me, froze for a moment, then smiled. Not the silly smile I make when I am pretending to be dumb, but a genuinely foolish smile. Her eyes curved into crescents. The corners of her mouth stretched to her ears, revealing a missing front tooth. She waved at me. I walked over and squatted in front of her. She reached out to touch my face, her movements very gentle, as if touching a fragile piece of porcelain. After touching mine, she touched her own face, then tilted her head, her face full of confusion. You. The words almost slipped out. I quickly covered my mouth and changed it to, Ah. She mimicked me. All right. We're communicating. I took her hand, wanting to lead her away, but she pulled free, ran to the side of a dry well, and pointed at the opening. Look. I leaned over to look. It was pitch black inside the well, and I couldn't see a thing. She pulled a small pebble from who knows where and threw it down, and after a long while, a faint thud sound came up. Fun, she clapped her hands, laughing like a real 7-year-old child. But I couldn't laugh. The book said this younger sister was locked in the cellar of the cold palace, never seeing the light of day. getting only one meal of spoiled food a day. The old eunuch in charge would beat her whenever he was in a bad mood, so she became genuinely foolish, not pretending. Seeing her like this now, I am afraid her situation is even more miserable than what is described in the book. "Princess, princess, where are you?" Chunxing's calls came from outside. I quickly pulled my younger sister to hide behind the broken wall. Chunxing searched all around but couldn't find us, then ran back crying to get help. Taking this chance, I checked my sister's body. There were ligature marks on her wrists and ankles, and whip marks on her back. Some had scabbed over, and some were still seeping blood. My eyes turned red. We're both princesses, yet I get to play dumb and live in luxury while she suffers in the cold palace waiting to die. How is that fair? "Let's go." I pulled her up. She shook her head, pointing at the dry well. "Home. This isn't home," I said. "Come with me, there is candy to eat." Her eyes lit up. "Candy. A lot of candy." She hesitated for a moment, but still came with me. Number Chapter 3. Hiding a little sister in the palace. By the time we crawled out of the hole in the wall, it was already getting dark. I led her along the back paths to my sleeping quarters, hiding all the way, just like a thief. My sleeping quarters are called Lihua Palace. The name is elegant, and the location is remote. Normally, other than Father Emperor and Mother Empress, few people come, which made it convenient for me to steal my little sister. I hid her under the bed. There is a decent amount of space there, a good spot I found when I was little playing hide and seek. When Chunxing brought people to find me, I was sitting on the doorstep playing with mud. My clothes were all dirty, and my face was smeared with mud too. "Princess," Chunxing rushed over. "Where did you run off to? You scared this servant to death." I held up the mud ball in my hand. Bowl." Chunxing sighed in relief, both angry and amused. "Why'd you run over to the cold palace? So dangerous. You are not allowed to go there anymore, you hear me?" I nodded, but thought to myself, not only do I have to go, I have to go often. At nightfall, after Chunxing and the other palace maids were asleep, I quietly climbed out of bed and pulled my little sister out from under the bed. She was asleep, curled up in a ball, like a little stray cat. I touched her forehead. It was a little hot. She had a fever. I rummaged through boxes and cabinets, found the fever-reducing medicine the imperial physician had prescribed for me before the one I'd saved from when I pretended to be sick, poured some warm water, and shook her awake. "Take your medicine." I handed the pill over. She looked at the pill, then at me, and shook her head. "Bitter." "It is not bitter, it is sweet." I coaxed her. She put it in her mouth, half believing and half doubting, chewed twice, and her whole little face scrunched up. "Bitter." But she swallowed it anyway. I quickly stuffed a piece of candied fruit for her. She held it in her mouth, her eyes curved into crescent moons again. "Sweet." After feeding her the medicine, I brought over some hot water to wash her. When the hot water touched her wounds, she shivered from the pain, but didn't cry, just bit her lip, her eyes red. "If it hurts, say so," I said softly. She shook her head. "It doesn't hurt. Big sister is here, it doesn't hurt." My heart soured a bit. She called me big sister. Although we're the same age, my mental age is way older than hers. Washed clean and changed into my nightgown, she finally looked like a princess, if one were to ignore the scars. "What is your name?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Name? It is what other people call you." She thought for a moment. "Little Nine." "Little Nine, just like me, ranked 9th. "Who gave you that name?" "Old Grandpa," she said. Old Grandpa said, "I am Little Nine, and I have an older sister who is also Little Nine." "Old Grandpa, that must be the old eunuch who was the guard." "Did old Grandpa treat you well?" I asked. She shook her head and then nodded. "Sometimes good. He gives me food. Sometimes bad. He hits people." As she spoke, she rolled up her sleeve, revealing the bruises on her arm. I clenched my fists. That old eunuch deserved to die. "No one will hit you from now on." I hugged her. "Big sister will protect you." She leaned against me in my arms and said in a small voice, "Big sister, the cold palace is dark. I am scared." "Don't be scared. You'll sleep with big sister from now on." That night, we squeezed onto one small bed. She had a fever and slept restlessly. One moment talking in her sleep, the next kicking off the blanket. So I held her, gently patting her back, just like how Mother used to coax me to sleep when I was little. The bright moonlight outside the window shone on her face, long eyelashes, a delicate nose exactly the same as mine. Twin sisters should have been spoiled in our parents' arms together, yet she had suffered so much. I secretly swore, since I was made to transmigrate here, I can't let her suffer anymore. Those who harmed her, not a single one will get away. Number. Chapter 4. Acknowledging kin. In the Great Hall, my younger sister hid in Lihua Palace for 3 days. For these 3 days, using the excuse that the foolish princess suddenly likes to play hide and seek, I turned my bedchamber into utter chaos. One day hiding a vase under the bed, the next stuffing a pillow in the wardrobe. The palace maids were frantic from searching, and naturally had no time to notice an extra person under the bed. My younger sister's fever broke, and the wounds on her body began to scab over. She didn't talk much. Most of the time, she'd just sit quietly, watching me deal with the palace maids with my ahs. Sometimes when I looked at her, she would smile at me, her eyes sparkling. On the morning of the 4th day, I made a decision. I couldn't hide her anymore. My younger sister needed treatment from an imperial physician, needed a proper identity, and needed to live openly and with dignity in the light of day. And there was only one person who could make all this happen: Father Emperor. During the morning court session, I changed into my prettiest princess dress, and holding my younger sister, I quietly slipped out of Lihua Palace. My younger sister was very nervous, her small hand clutching my lapel tightly. "Where are you going, big sister?" "To see Father Emperor," I said. "Father Emperor." She repeated the word, her eyes filled with confusion. "What is that?" "It is Dad, our dad." She nodded, as if only half understanding. Outside the Great Hall, the guards were stunned to see me. "Ninth Princess." The captain of the guards hurried over. "Why have you come? The morning court session isn't over yet." Holding my younger sister, I raised my head, trying my best to look foolishly self-righteous. Find Father Emperor." "The Emperor is in a meeting, Princess. You should go back first, wait until court is dismissed." "I don't care," and directly charge inside. Princess, you can't." The guards panicked, but didn't dare to actually stop me. Who doesn't know? The 9th princess is the apple of the Emperor's eye. If she got hurt, who could bear the responsibility? Just like that, holding my little sister, I rushed into the main hall. In the hall, the civil and military officials were lined up on both sides discussing matters. On the dragon throne, Father Emperor was wearing a bright yellow dragon robe, his brows slightly furrowed, listening to the reports from his subordinates. My intrusion made everyone freeze. "Father Emperor," I shouted. When Father Emperor saw me, he was first surprised. Then he smiled. "Rutao, why have you come?" I, holding my little sister, pitter-pattered over to the dragon throne and shoved my sister into his arms. "Father Emperor, hold my royal sister for a bit. Don't tell Mother Empress." The entire hall fell deathly silent. Everyone's gaze focused on the child in my arms, and then sobs rose and fell one after another. This child looks exactly the same as the 9th princess. Twins. Father Emperor froze completely. He looked down at the little sister in his arms, then looked up at me, his eyes widening bit by bit. My little sister was a bit scared. She shrank into my arms and called out softly, "Big sister." Father Emperor's hands began to tremble. He gently lifted my little sister's face, examining it carefully. That face, identical to mine, those clear yet timid eyes. "Twin sisters." His voice trembled. "That child from back then is actually still alive." I nodded. Little sister." Father Emperor's eyes suddenly reddened. He hugged my little sister tightly, held her very tight, as if afraid she would disappear again. My little sister was squeezed until it hurt, and she cried out with a wah. Father Emperor hurriedly let go, clumsily patting her back. Don't cry, Father Emperor is here. Father Emperor is here." Looking like that, he didn't have a shred of an emperor's majesty, just a clumsy old father. The ministers below looked at each other. A few old ministers already had tears streaming down their faces. Heaven bless the great Joe, twin princesses. It is an auspicious sign. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Congratulations, Your Majesty. But there were also dissenting voices. The Prime Minister stepped forward, his expression grave. Your Majesty, this matter is strange. When the 9th princess was born, the palace records only documented one princess. So where did a twin come from? This girl's origin is unknown. I am afraid something is amiss. Father Emperor's face darkened. Prime Minister, what do you mean by that? Your subject is just worried someone is using Your Majesty's love for his daughter to commit misdeeds. The Prime Minister insinuated. When the 9th princess was born back then, the midwife and imperial physician who delivered her are all no longer of this world. If a girl was truly switched out of the palace, why has she only shown up now? And why specifically in the cold palace? Once these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the hall changed abruptly, and several princes exchanged glances, their expressions all different. The crown prince stepped forward. Father Emperor, what the Prime Minister said makes sense. This matter is indeed suspicious. Why don't we first investigate this girl's identity? Investigate what? The Father Emperor suddenly got angry. You all look at her face. Look at her eyes. They're exactly the same as Rotau's. This is Jen's daughter. He stood up holding my younger sister, walked to my side. One hand holding mine, one hand holding my younger sister, facing all the officials. From this day on, she is Jen's 10th princess, bestowed the name Shen Ruotang. The Tanghua Hall next to Li Hua Hall. Immediately clean it up for the 10th princess. The head of the Imperial Hospital is to immediately go and take the 10th princess's pulse. Father Emperor. The Crown Prince still wanted to speak. Father Emperor shot a look over. Anyone who speaks further will be dealt with for deceiving the monarch. No one in the hall dared to make a sound. Imperial Father carried my younger sister, held my hand and strode out of the great hall. The sunlight shone on us, nice and warm. My younger sister rested on his shoulder and whispered to me, Older sister, is Imperial Father scary? I smiled. He is not scary. Imperial Father is the best. Imperial Father heard. His footsteps paused for a moment, and he held the two of us tighter. Jen's daughters, he said in a low voice, are both Jen's treasures. Number Chapter 5. The truth is like a blade. The news reached the harem, and it caused an uproar. Mother Empress was admiring flowers with several concubines at the time. Upon hearing about the matter in the great hall, the teacup in her hand fell to the ground with a pay. Twin daughters? Her face was deathly pale. She swayed a bit as she stood up and was supported by a palace maid. By the time we returned to the rear palace, Mother Empress was already waiting at the entrance of Liyue Palace. She was wearing the Empress's court attire and a phoenix crown, yet her face was frighteningly pale. Seeing Father Emperor holding my little sister in his arms, her whole body swayed, and she almost fell down. Zitong. Father Emperor quickly stepped forward, but Mother Empress pushed him away, walked up to my little sister, wanting to touch her face with a trembling hand, but didn't dare. Me little sister was a bit scared and shrank into Father Emperor's arms. My child. Mother Empress's voice choked. You really are. I walked over and took Mother Empress's hand. Mother Empress, it is my little sister, my own little sister. Mother Empress's tears poured down. She hugged my little sister, crying her heart out. My child, my poor, ill-fated child. Little sister was stunned by the crying and started crying too. The mother and daughter wept bitterly in each other's arms. Father Emperor wiped his tears at the side, and I stood to one side, with mixed feelings in my heart. The book says Mother Empress had a difficult labor when she gave birth back then, was in a coma for 3 days and 3 nights, and upon waking was told she had given birth to a daughter, but her body was weak, and she might not live long. She forced herself to take one look before fainting again, after which the midwife matron died of a sudden illness. The imperial physician retired to his hometown, and all the people in the know disappeared. Looking at it now, it wasn't an accident at all. Someone deliberately stole a child. Who? Why? After she cried her fill, Mother Empress carefully examined the wounds on my sister's body. Seeing those bruises and whip marks, her eyes turned red. Who is it? Who did this? Who dares to treat my daughter like this? Father Emperor's face was grim. I have already sent people to the cold palace. The moment his voice fell, guards dragged in an old eunuch. It was the very one who guarded the cold palace. The old eunuch saw my younger sister, was scared out of his wits, and knelt and kowtowed. Your Majesty, spare my life. Your Highness the Empress, spare my life. This slave knows nothing. This child was brought by someone who told this slave to watch her, not to let her out, and not to let her die. Who brought her? Father Emperor asked in a cold voice. This slave doesn't know. That person's face was covered. Gave this slave a large sum of silver, and said that as long as this slave watches over this child well, there would be reward money every month. Every month. Mother Empress grasped the key point. So you are saying, this child wasn't just recently locked up? The old eunuch trembled like a sieve. Yes, was sent over 4 years ago. 4 years ago, my younger sister was 3, the same year I got a high fever that damaged my mind. Father Emperor and Mother Empress exchanged a look, both seeing the chill in each other's eyes. This was a conspiracy planned for 4 years. Drag him away, interrogate him under torture, and find out the mastermind. Father Emperor waved his hand. Your Majesty, spare my life. This slave truly knows nothing. The old eunuch was dragged away, his miserable screams fading into the distance. My younger sister was so scared she burrowed into Mother Empress's embrace. Mother Empress gently patted her back. Don't be afraid, Mother is here. No one can hurt you now. The imperial physician came to check her pulse, and the result was not optimistic long-term malnutrition. Multiple old injuries on her body, and also minor internal injuries. The most troublesome part is, her mind is damaged, and she might forever only have the intelligence of a 3 or 4-year-old. Mother Empress cried again. Father Emperor clenched his fists, veins bulging. I stood to one side, looking at this family of 3. My heart felt heavy. In the original plot, when my younger sister appeared, she was already beyond saving. Now, it is 3 years earlier, so perhaps there is still a chance. Father Emperor, Mother Empress. I spoke up, not pretending to be a fool this time, using the tone of a normal 7-year-old child. Younger sister will get better. We'll take care of her together. Everyone was stunned. Father Emperor's eyes widened. Ru Tao. Only then did I realize it is over. My cover is blown. But since it has come to this, I might as well lay my cards on the table. Father Emperor, Mother Empress, I am sorry. I lowered my head. I am not actually a fool, I was pretending. A deathly silence. Then Mother Empress cried out with a wah again, this time crying tears of joy. My Ruo Tao. My Ruo Tao is normal. She hugged me, crying and laughing at the same time. Father Emperor's eyes also reddened, and he stroked my head. Good child, you have suffered. It must be tiring to pretend to be a fool, right? I nodded, and then shook my head. Not tiring, it is just suffocating to hold it in. Father Emperor laughed, and as he laughed, tears fell. My daughters, one is smarter than the other, one is more sensible than the other. That day sounds of crying and laughing mixed together in Lihua Palace. My younger sister looked at us, and although she didn't quite understand what was happening, she laughed along too. Her smile was so beautiful, like a pear blossom in spring. My younger sister was officially titled the 10th princess, given the name Shen Ruotang, and moved into Tanghua Palace. Mother Empress practically moved into Tanghua Palace, personally taking care of my younger sister. The imperial physician checked her pulse daily, and the imperial kitchen came up with all sorts of restorative foods. My younger sister put on some weight at a visible rate. Her complexion also became rosy, and the wounds on her body slowly healed. It was just that her mental recovery was slow, and most of the time she was still like a 3 or 4-year-old child. But she was clingy with me, especially clingy. Big sister Candy. She pulled on my sleeve, looking at me with pleading eyes. I took out some candied fruit for her, and she happily stuffed it into her mouth, her cheeks puffed out, like a little hamster. Big sister, play. She pulled me to the imperial garden again. The two of us looked exactly the same, and wearing identical princess dresses, we ran hand in hand in the imperial garden, becoming a peculiar sight in the palace. The palace servants gossiped in private. The 10th princess is so pitiful to have suffered so much. The 9th princess hasn't had it easy either, pretending to be a fool for 4 years. The emperor and the empress now dote on the 2 princesses as if they were the apple of their eye. They even bring them to the morning court session. It is true, Father Emperor takes us everywhere with him now. During the morning court session, my sister and I would sit and play in the small chamber behind the dragon throne. While the ministers discussed matters, we'd be in the back laughing. Ah, or giggle. Aunts. The Prime Minister was again impeaching some official, his words fierce, when my sister suddenly ran out, tugging on his beard. Grandpa, mean, ugly. The whole court was stifling their laughter. The Prime Minister's face turned green, but he didn't dare to have an outburst after all. The one pulling his beard was the Emperor's most doted-on 10th princess. Father Emperor, stifling a laugh, carried my sister back. Ru-Tang, be good. Don't disturb Grandpa Prime Minister while he is talking. My sister tilted her head. Grandpa's ugly, like a big green frog. This time, even Father Emperor couldn't hold it in and let out a PFFT of laughter. The Prime Minister was so mad his beard was trembling, and he couldn't go on reading his memorial. The morning court session thus ended in this bizarre yet cheerful atmosphere. But beneath the calm, an undercurrent was surging. Number. Chapter 6, Luring the Snake Out of Its Hole. The old eunuch couldn't take the torture and confessed the one who instructed him was an old mama in the palace, surnamed Liu. Mama Liu had died of illness 3 years ago, so the trail went cold. But upon investigating her, it was discovered that she had been extremely close with Consort Shu during her lifetime. Consort Shu, the second prince's biological mother, the second prince. He was the one who called me a fool in the imperial garden back then. Father Emperor's face was grim. The second. Have we been too indulgent with him all these years? Mother Empress sighed. Without any proof or evidence, we can't wrongly accuse a prince. Besides, Consort Shu is already dead, so there is no one to testify against her. Then the suffering Ru-Tang went through was for nothing. Father Emperor's voice turned cold. Of course not. Mother Empress held his hand. Your Majesty, I have a plan. Speak. Set a trap to lure the snake out of its hole. Mother Empress's plan was very simple. Spread the news that although the 10th princess had been found, she was afflicted with a strange poison and needed a rare medicinal herb, Snowling-Ji, to save her life. And the only Snowling-Ji in the palace was hidden deep in the national treasury, under heavy guard. If someone didn't want Ru-Tang to live, they would definitely try to steal the Snowling-Ji, or prevent the Snowling-Ji from being used. But the national treasury is heavily guarded. Father Emperor mused. That is why we need an insider. Mother Empress looked at me. Do you dare to do Mother Empress a favor? I nodded. I dare. And so, the show began. Several days later, news spread through the palace the 10th princess's condition had worsened. Her high fever wouldn't go down, and the imperial physicians were at their wit's end. Father Emperor was so anxious he stopped attending court, staying by her side in Tanghua Hall day after day. Mother Empress washed her face with tears, her eyes swollen from crying. My little sister and I played our parts. My sister lay in bed pretending to be sick, and I sat by the bed crying. Woo-woo. Actually, my little sister was perfectly fine. She could even secretly eat the candied fruits I slipped her. Big sister, more, she whispered. Shh. I stuffed the candied fruit into her mouth. We're pretending you are sick. Don't talk. She just lay there obediently, her eyes darting about. On the 3rd night, the fish took the bait. In the middle of the night, the sounds of fighting came from the direction of the national treasury. Father Emperor had long since laid an inescapable trap, just waiting for the thieves to come. My little sister and I were peeking from the window. Far in the distance, flames shot up into the sky, and there were flickering shadows of people. Big sister, I am scared. My little sister tugged at the corner of my clothes. Don't be scared. Father Emperor is here. I patted her back. 2 hours later, Father Emperor returned. His face ashen. Caught them? Mother Empress asked. Caught one, but not the mastermind. Father Emperor sat down. It was a death warrior. He took poison and killed himself the moment he was caught. A token was he took out an ebony token with the character 2 carved on it. The second prince. Mother Empress gasped. Is it really old too? Not necessarily. Father Emperor shook his head. It is too obvious, it looks like a frame-up. Then your majesty thinks. I think someone wants to make me and old 2 turn against each other. Father Emperor sneered. When the snipe and the clam fight, it is the fisherman who profits. My younger sister and I didn't understand any of this, but we could feel the tense atmosphere. The next day, the second prince was grounded. The reason being improper conduct before the emperor actually. It was because he had talked back to his father emperor a few days prior, which was now being used as an excuse. The second prince refused to accept it, smashing things in his bedchamber. The old mama left behind by consort Shu before she died advised him. Your Highness, calm your anger, His Majesty is protecting you. Protect me? Is house arrest called protection? The second prince smashed his teacup. The old mammy lowered her voice. Last night, a thief got into the national treasury, and the thief had a token from the second prince's residence on him. If the emperor really believed it, it wouldn't be as simple as just house arrest. The second prince was stunned, then broke out in a cold sweat. Someone is trying to frame me. A tall tree catches the wind. The old mammy sighed. Your Highness has been too prominent these years, and someone has gotten restless. The second prince was silent for a long time, then suddenly asked, Then 10th sister, was she really poisoned? This old servant has made inquiries. The Imperial Hospital is extremely tight-lipped, but looking at Her Majesty the Empress's state, it doesn't seem like she is faking it. The second prince's expression was complicated. If 10th sister is really gone, will 9th sister also? He didn't finish his sentence, but the meaning was obvious. If both twin princesses died, the blow Father Emperor would suffer would be doubled, and who would benefit the most then? The crown prince, the third prince, the fourth prince are all possibilities. This palace truly devours people without spitting out the bones, not even sparing children. The second prince gave a bitter smile. These words were relayed, word for word, by the spy planted by the second prince's side to Father Emperor. After Father Emperor finished listening, he was silent for a long time. Although old second is impetuous, his heart isn't bad. This matter should not be his doing. Then who is it? Mother Empress asked. Father Emperor looked out the window, his eyes profound. Whoever most wants to see my sons fight to the death is the most suspicious. My sister and I were playing with building blocks on the side, pricking up our ears to eavesdrop. My sister built a wobbly tower, and with a crash, it fell down. But she wasn't mad, just giggled and started building it again. Father Emperor looked at her innocent, artless smiling face, and his gaze softened. No matter who it is, if they dare to touch my daughter, I will absolutely not let them off lightly. The trail went cold again. The suicide soldier was dead. The token could be a forgery, and the second prince was actually safer after being placed under house arrest. The palace was calm on the surface, but secretly everyone was terrified. My sister and I became key protection targets. Whenever we went out, at least 8 palace maids and 8 eunuchs followed. Our food was tested for poison 3 times, and even when we slept, an old matron stood watch through the night. Me sister had a hard time getting used to it and kept having nightmares, dreaming of the darkness of the cold palace, dreaming of the beatings from the old eunuch. Every time she woke up crying, I would hold her and hum the song Mother used to sing to lull me to sleep as a child. Good little bunny, open the door. As she listened, she would stop crying, and leaning in my arms, she would whisper, Big sister, you sing so beautifully, then big sister will sing for you every day. She closed her eyes, teardrops still clinging to her eyelashes. Half a month passed like this, and a turning point came. That Nanny Lou, who supposedly died of illness, actually didn't die. She had a lover outside the palace, a medicinal herb merchant. Back then, she faked her death to leave the palace and started a quiet life with her lover. This time, hearing that the palace was investigating the matter of the 10th princess, she had a guilty conscience and tried to flee, but was caught by imperial father's men. Nanny Liu couldn't withstand the torture and confessed everything. The one who ordered her to swap the child was the late consort Xian. The third prince's birth mother, consort Xian, was pregnant at the same time as Mother Empress back then. She gave birth to a son first, the third prince, and thought she would gain status through her son. But unexpectedly, Mother Empress was pregnant with twins. Twin princesses are an auspicious sign in the Great Zhou. Consort Xian was afraid Mother Empress would become even more favored because of this, and that her own son would lose power, so she bribed the delivering nanny to steal one of the babies. She originally wanted to kill her, but the delivering nanny couldn't bear to do it and gave the baby to Nanny Liu. Nanny Liu then passed her on to an old eunuch in the cold palace, giving him silver every month to deal with it as he saw fit. The old eunuch was greedy for money, so he didn't kill the child, but he abused her. Consort Xian passed away from illness 3 years ago, taking the secret to her grave before she died. Nanny Liu thought nothing would happen, so she faked her death and left the palace, not expecting that it would still be dug up. The truth came to light, and everyone fell silent. Consort Xian is already dead, so she can't be held accountable. The third prince knelt before imperial father, kowtowing to plead for forgiveness. Your son did not know that Mother Consort would commit such a wicked act. Your son is willing to accept punishment on Mother's behalf. The father emperor looked at him for a long time and sighed. Your Mother Consort's crime is not for you to bear. Get up. The third prince refused to get up, crying until tears and snot streamed down his face. Mother Empress's eyes reddened too. She and Consort Xian were handkerchief sisters back then. They entered the palace together, as close as sisters. But she never thought that in the end, the one who would harm her the most was this very sister. Your Majesty, let it go. Mother Empress said, Consort Xian is already dead. The grievances are settled. Now that Ruotang has been found, that is better than anything else. Father Emperor nodded and helped the third prince up. Your Mother Consort's mistakes, I do not blame you for them, but you must remember, siblings are like hands and feet. You must not harm each other. I, your son, will remember. The third prince sobbed uncontrollably. The matter was considered settled at this point, but I always felt like something was off. Why would Consort Xian want to leave my younger sister alive? If she was going to steal, why not steal both? Leaving one in the palace, wasn't she afraid of being exposed in the future? Also, why would that medicinal herb merchant be lovers with Nanny Liu? A coincidence. I told Father Emperor my doubts, and Father Emperor stroked my head. Rutao is so smart. I also suspect there is someone else behind Consort Xian. Who is it? I am still investigating. Father Emperor's eyes were cold and stern, but it'll be soon. After a few more days, the medicinal herb merchant confessed he wasn't an ordinary merchant. He was a spy from the northern frontier. The northern frontier, the Great Zhou's arch-nemesis. 20 years ago, the northern frontier was defeated, sent a princess for a political marriage, who is Consort Xian. Consort Xian appeared gentle and graceful, but in reality she always longed for her old country. She didn't steal my younger sister to fight for favor, but to have upon a child who has the royal blood of the Great Zhou, yet is full of hatred for the royal family. When my younger sister grows up, they would tell her the truth, that it was her father emperor and mother empress who abandoned her, that it was her older sister who stole everything from her. Then they'd use her to throw the court of the Great Zhou into chaos. What a vicious plan. After Father Emperor finished listening, he smashed the teacup in his hand. Beijing! What a fine Beijing! His voice was ice cold. Jen should have annihilated them back then. Mother Empress was also trembling with anger. Consort Xian, how could she dare? Why wouldn't she dare? Father Emperor sneered. In her heart, there is only Beijing. No Great Zhou, no Jen, and certainly not you sisters. Beijing's conspiracy was exposed, and the border immediately became tense. Father Emperor mobilized troops and appointed generals, preparing to go to war. On the night before he left for the campaign, he came to see me and my younger sister. My younger sister was already asleep, hugging the stuffed rabbit I had sewn for her, sleeping soundly. I was still reading a book by Father Emperor's special permission, as he said I was gifted and intelligent and no longer needed to pretend to be a fool. Rutao Father Emperor sat down. Father Emperor is going to war tomorrow. I put down my book. Is Father Emperor going to fight the bad guys? Yes, to fight the bad guys. He stroked my head. While Father Emperor is away, you must take good care of your younger sister and take good care of Mother Empress. I nodded. Don't worry, Father Emperor, I am very smart now. Father Emperor smiled. Yes, my Ruitao is the cleverest. He looked at me, his gaze complicated. Pretending to be a fool for 4 years, you've been wronged. I don't feel wronged, I said. If it weren't for me pretending to be dumb, I wouldn't have even found my little sister. Father Emperor sighed, pulling both me and my sister into his arms. My daughters, each one is more wonderful than the last. When Father Emperor returns, I'll take you to Jiangyan to play, to see the real pear blossoms. Pinky swear. I held out my pinky. Father Emperor also held out his pinky and hooked it with mine. Pinky swear and hang for 100 years, you are not allowed to change. Father Emperor was on campaign for 3 months and won a great victory. The king of the northern frontier submitted a letter of surrender, ceded land and paid reparations, and also sent a prince over to be a hostage. On the day of his triumphant return, the people of the entire city lined the streets to welcome him. My sister and I, wearing our prettiest princess dresses, stood on the city gate tower, watching Father Emperor ride a tall, great horse at the very front of the procession, the sunlight on his armor glittering brightly. Father Emperor, my little sister shouted excitedly, waving her small hands. Father Emperor looked up and saw us, smiled. And at that moment, I felt that transmigrating here was worth it. During the evening palace banquet, Father Emperor formally added my younger sister to the jade tablet, recording her in the imperial family's genealogy. From then on, the 10th princess, Shen Ruotang, was legitimate and proper. My younger sister drank some fruit wine, her little face all flushed, and leaned on my shoulder, whispering, "Older sister, I am happy." Happy about what? There is Father Emperor. There is Mother Empress. There is older sister. She counted on her fingers. And candy. Lots and lots of candy. I smiled and hugged her. You'll be happy every day from now on. The crown prince came over to offer a toast, saw us and smiled. You two sisters. You'll have to look out for your big brother from now on. The second prince also came, awkwardly handing me and my sister each a brocade box. My apologies, second brother was in the wrong before. Opening them, inside were 2 pairs of identical jade bracelets, warm and translucent. The third prince watched us from afar, wanting to come over but not daring to. Father Emperor beckoned to him, and only then did he slowly walk over, bowing deeply. 9th sister, 10th sister. I am sorry. My younger sister looked at him, then at me, and said in a small voice, "Brother, don't cry." The third prince was stunned, the rims of his eyes turning red. Father Emperor raised his wine cup. Today is a family banquet. We will not distinguish between monarch and subject, only family ties. My daughter has returned, and my sons have also matured. I am very happy. Everyone raised their cups. The atmosphere was merry and harmonious. After the banquet ended, my younger sister and I returned to the palace hand in hand. The moonlight, like water, spilled onto the walkway. Older sister, my younger sister said suddenly. The cold palace isn't dark anymore. With older sister here, nowhere is dark. She squeezed my hand. Older sister, we'll never be apart. I smiled, and also squeezed her hand. We'll never be apart. In the distance, Father Emperor and Mother Empress stood side by side, watching us. Zitong, look at them, Father Emperor said softly. Aren't they just like we were back then? Mother Empress leaned on his shoulder. They are, but they'll be happier than us. Definitely. Under the moonlight, the family's shadows were stretched long, huddled closely together, just like the warmth in this deep palace, though faint. It was enough to illuminate the path ahead. The end.